Time now for Stanley's Stinkers, the only show that uses reverse prognostication to predict the losers in college football's biggest games. With this week's losers, here he is, Stanley Reese.
Hello again, and thanks for joining us. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Rivalry week is finally over, and some teams can breathe easier as they head to their conference championships, while others are left wondering what might have been. Stanley Stinkers finished the week with a 17-3 record, and our overall success rate is now 79%. Given the way some other college football pundits made out, that is not bad. We never back down from the rivalries. Stanley Stinkers uses reverse prognostication to predict the losers in college football's biggest games. With that said, here are the teams we'll be watching this week. The Memphis Tigers at the Connecticut Huskies. The Riverboat Kittens head up north with their tail between their legs, having already lost 8 games this year, and they'll have their paws full of a UConn team that has even more losses. The difference is that the Sled Dogs have won their last 2 games, including an impressive conquest against Rutgers last week. It's a cat and dog fight in the snow, but the momentum, it does not favor the felines. Stanley Stinker, Memphis. Louisiana Lafayette Ragin' Cajuns at the South Alabama Jaguars. This is perhaps the most important game in the short history of the South Alabama football program, as one more win makes the Speckled Cats bowl eligible. To attain that elusive invitation, they'll have to get past Lafayette. That might be tough because the angry Arcadians haven't lost that many games this year, but they were upset last week, and that may open the door just enough for Joey Jones and his Jaguars to jump on the bowl bandwagon. This one might be close, but Stanley Stinker is Louisiana Lafayette. UCF Knights at the SMU Mustangs. Top 10 passer Blake Bortles leads his Bright Knights to Dallas to joust with SMU, a team that's also trying to become bowl eligible. But with an injury to their own hotshot signal caller, things don't look promising for the Ponies. With at least a share of the first American Athletic Conference Championship, Central Florida isn't about to risk that title in Texas. It might be the AAC, but a crown is a crown is a crown. Stanley Stinker, SMU. Well, we've got to take a break now, but we still have the conference championship games coming up, including the Michigan State-Ohio State showdown, and we'll check in on the Ouachita State game in the heart of Dixie Bowl. Those games and more coming up.
I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. I'd like to buy the world a Coke and keep it company. That's the song I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. I'd like to buy the world a Coke.
How to be a great dad in 15 seconds. Bike ride, go fish, walk in the park, phone call, milkshake, play catch, picnic, fly a kite, tell jokes, laugh, talk, read a story, tell a story, bumper car, swing set, bowling, pillow fight, cut loose, stay tight. Whew. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
South Florida Bulls at the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. A 5-6 season so far has the Knights from New Jersey seeing a brighter shade of red, but that could subside with a win Saturday against the Coastal Cavs from South Florida. If stats indicate the outcome, the greatest gauge may be that Rutgers ranks in the top 10 nationally against the run, while the Bulls are at the other end of the trough. This will be a good way for both teams to forget the season. Stanley Stinker, South Florida. The Texas Longhorns at the Baylor Bears. Based on early season reports, Mack Brown should be scanning Craigslist about right now for a new job. But instead, he's led his herd of raging steers to a somewhat respectable 8-3 record en route to some renewed job security. Even more protection is possible with an upset against Baylor. After losing to OK State 2 weeks ago, the Bears barely clawed out a win last week against TCU. If Baylor's ball attack is bothered by Texas, things could get wacky in Waco. It's possible, but not likely. Stanley Stinker, Texas. The Stanford Cardinal and the Arizona State Sun Devils. This is a rematch from earlier in the year, but this time it's for the Pac-12 championship. The Cardinal punished the Devils on the farm in September, but since then Arizona State has won 8 out of 9 games, scoring more than 50 points 5 times behind the running of Mike Grice. But with Grice out for this game, that attack will be grounded. That could lead the way to another Rose Bowl berth for the Tree Farmers. Stanley Stinker, Arizona State. The Oklahoma Sooners at the Oklahoma State Cowboys. This is part of the Bedlam series, and the rivalry is traced back more than 100 years. The history of this game is so lopsided that it took more than 30 years for Oklahoma State to score more than 14 points in a single game. That early trend should be bucked by the Pokes this year with an offense that's averaging more than 40 points every outing, going up against an Oklahoma team that gave up 31 points their last time out against Kansas State. The sands of time, they've turned against the Land Thieves. Stanley Stinker, Oklahoma. Well, we'll take our last time out here and get ready for the ACC, the Big Ten, and the SEC championship games. That and more coming up after this.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't seen your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
The Duke Blue Devils at the FSU Seminoles. This is a classic David versus Goliath battle, and we all know how that one ended. The ACC championship game is at stake in this one, but for the River Chiefs, their perfect season is on the line as well. Behind Heisman hopeful Jameis Winston, FSU has cranked out 12 straight wins. Their top-ranked offense and defense makes them seem unbeatable, but so did the big guy. The Blue Devils will have to be lucky to win this game, and they may need more than just one rock to do it. Stanley Stinker, Duke. The Ohio State Buckeyes at the Michigan State Spartans in the Big Ten Championship game in Indianapolis. The going gets a little tougher for Coach Urban Meyer and his Lucky Nuts this week against the Mercenaries from Michigan State. The Buckeyes barely escaped a week ago with their record intact. This week, that perfect record, the conference title, and a berth in the BCS Championship game is on the line. The Spartans have one of the top defenses in the nation, while Ohio State has one of the best offenses in the country. Something's got to give. Look for the Magic to finally run out on the Lucky Nuts in a tight game in Indy. Stanley Stinker, Ohio State. The Missouri Tigers at Auburn Tigers in Atlanta for the SEC Championship game. After witnessing two miracles in as many ball games, fans on the Gus Bus might just believe that destiny is on their side. But the Missouri fans think the same thing. Both teams combined for only 8 wins a year ago, and now they find themselves on top of the SEC. Auburn has been riding the wave of the Gus Malzahn offense, while Mizzou got there the hard way by playing smash-mouth football. The miracle season has to end for one team this weekend. Stanley Stinker, can't do it. Got to make the call. It's a tight one. Stanley Stinker, Missouri. While we are at it, here are a few more games we'll be watching this week. Towson will be rammed by Fordham. Coastal Carolina will be mauled by Montana. North Dakota State will fall to Furman. McNeese State will be lassoed by Jacksonville State. Southeastern Louisiana will lose to Sam Houston State. Lenore Ryan will be scratched by North Alabama. Wesley College will be raided by Mount Union. Pitt State will be caged by Southwest Minnesota State. East Mississippi will be shot by Georgia Military in the JUCO title game. And in the heart of Dixie Bowl, the Texans of Tarleton State will be dunked by the Tigers of Ouachita Baptist. Stanley Stinkers is a production of GMD Sports. It is intended for entertainment only. A free podcast and blog is always available online at stanleystinkers.com. We are the most entertaining college football show in America because we're the only ones that use reverse prognostication to predict losers in college football's biggest game.